Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now, Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. Of course, there are going to be many opinions in the build up to this fight. I actually kind of like what Dillian White explained about this fight. It's a genuine 50-50. Only a fan of Joshua will believe he can win, and only a fan of Tyson Fury will believe he can win. Other than that, it is a genuine 50-50. And I do agree with Dillian White on that one. Now, Teddy Atlas has weighed in on what he believes will happen in this undisputed fight. So let's have a little read of what he has explained. This is what he had to say. I think Fury could stop him. I like AJ, he's a good fighter. He's got talent. He's had a great comeback and I like that. I'm not going to say that he has a China chin. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to say that Fury has a better chin. And I'm going to say he's been to some dark places when he got stopped by Ruiz. Now he found a light and he lit up the room. And now he's back in the place where it's lit. I just don't think that he's far away from a power shortage. I think there could be a blackout again, where his confidence goes. When I say the electricity, the light, I attach it to confidence, belief, mental strength, and durability. I think that a blackout could happen in that generator of his again. So I'm going with Fury. He showed me that you can go get, and can box, and pot shot, and move. So I'm going to go with Fury. Joshua can punch, Joshua's a banger, he gets into position, but he's going to have to get into that position, because Fury is more versatile, Fury has more to say, because he can do more things. So there we go, that is Teddy Atlas's take on Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. And it's interesting what he says about Anthony Joshua, having his lights taken out by Andy Ruiz, and he believes that the same will happen again. And it's not necessarily down to just Fury, it's down to a problem with Anthony Joshua himself, saying that he doesn't have the same kind of versatility, but also he is mentally weak. I believe that is what he is getting at. Now, I wouldn't say that AJ is mentally weak considering the performances he has given when it truly matters. Someone who is mentally weak would not have been able to go into the rematch with Andy Ruiz and get the victory. I think what we can consider about Anthony Joshua more so than anything else is his inexperience, especially in fights with Klitschko, which happened in his 19th fight, and then there was the Ruiz loss as well, where he rushed in again. I mean, there is a very important and interesting stat about Anthony Joshua and his knockdowns. It is the fact that he's never been knocked down by an opponent. He hasn't knocked it down first. What does that tell you? It tells you that he rushes in too quickly, showing his inexperience and not being mature enough to get back behind his jab, but he did that in the Pulev fight, so therefore Anthony Joshua has learned. Many people are saying Joshua is a different fighter now than he was before. He's not, he's the same fighter, just more mature and more experienced. The problem could come if Anthony Joshua is able to get Tyson Fury hurt and goes after him but doesn't finish him. Then there could be a problem because Tyson Fury will get that second win. He will warm back into the fight because he has proven that he is able to do that. If AJ puts too much into going after Tyson Fury, then he could leave himself vulnerable. But we have seen in previous performances, the Ruiz fight the second time around and the Pulev fight, that he has shown that kind of maturity. Those certain fundamental things that have been very important that Anthony Joshua has learned, especially in the Andy Ruiz Jr. fight, to not go after him, to get back behind his boxing, because it's not always about getting the stoppage. Sometimes it requires you to go 12 rounds, and that is what he had to do against Ruiz. Ruiz recently explained that AJ's performance over him, the victory, wasn't explosive, wasn't exciting like his victory over AJ at Madison Square Garden. But it was still a victory. Boxing is chess, not checkers, so it's not necessarily just about going for the knockout. And I don't think we will see that in AJ versus Fury to start with. It will get to that point because both fighters will want to get the stoppage, but early on, it will be cagey. They will feel one another out because this is so important and such a huge event. Having said that, neither fighter will want to give anything away early on. So I'm not necessarily buying into the fact that Anthony Joshua has this mental weakness, that his lights could be shut off at any point, because he lacks the confidence and mental strength to compete with Tyson Fury, because I think that he's shown it in abundance during his career. There is of course that Ruiz fight, and everyone calls back to that, because that was a fight where Anthony Joshua was defeated, and he was stopped in the 7th round. So they always want to talk about that, but they don't want to talk about the times that AJ was showing his mental strength, like the rematch, like going in there with Klitschko in his 19th fight. Those are things they don't seem to talk about. They only seem to want to call back to the Ruiz fight, and I get it that Anthony Joshua has that blemish on his resume. Tyson Fury doesn't have that, he's undefeated. So there are always going to be things that people can pick at with Anthony Joshua and not Tyson Fury because he's undefeated. So every time he's gone into a boxing ring, he's proven that he can get the job done. And Anthony Joshua has proven that somewhat, but obviously that blemish is there. Even though he did rematch Ruiz immediately, just 5 or 6 months after losing and got the victory, showing that he was able to show that mental maturity, but also the mental strength to get straight back in there and right the wrong straight after losing, when others said he shouldn't be doing that. Again, negative people who don't necessarily understand what he was able to achieve early on in his career that proved he had the mental strength in abundance to go back in there with Ruiz. And those are certain things that people don't look into. I think that many people are looking too much into the reasons why Anthony Joshua cannot beat Tyson Fury, instead of looking at the positives and thinking he can do this, and that is how he can beat Tyson Fury. Vice versa with Tyson Fury, everyone seems to believe that he has the movement, the reach, the speed, and he's just too good for AJ. A better boxer, a better mover, and he can stand there and trade with his opponent when he must. Those are very important things. He's very versatile. And these comments are from Teddy Atlas and those who do say this about Anthony Joshua. It's nothing personal. It's just that AJ has that loss there that they can pick apart. Tyson Fury doesn't have that. Had Tyson Fury suffered a loss in his career, they would do the same thing to him, but he hasn't. That is why they don't. Having said that, in my opinion, what Anthony Joshua was able to do, shown his mental strength going back in the rematch and beating Ruiz, that shows what mental strength he has, as opposed to looking at what happened in the first fight, and it seems like it would just be easy to get straight back in there. Well, Wilder didn't do it. He had that opportunity to rematch Tyson Fury. He did not take it. So that proves just how hard it is to get straight back in there. So with AJ rematching Ruiz straight away, all of those doubts about his mental ability and his mental capacity to overcome certain adversaries in the ring, those things were put to bed by him taking that rematch. That's just the way I look at it anyway. I mean, Teddy Atlas and those who want to believe that AJ is not mentally strong enough to compete with Tyson Fury, there are other factors as well. And if you want to look at it from just an individual fight perspective, then fine. There is the Klitschko fight where he was dropped and lost a couple of rounds but found his way back into the fight. So after being dropped, Klitschko was in control, but AJ managed to find his way back into the fight, and that shown his mental strength in that individual fight, instead of, say, losing to Ruiz, then showing his mental strength in getting back in there. So he has shown both aspects of it. Many fighters lose, it happens, especially when they fight top fighters back to back, like Anthony Joshua has. It's going to happen in everyone's career, especially if they take those kind of challenges. The important thing is how they come back, not necessarily the loss itself. And it goes back to what Dillian Whyte's assessment was of this undisputed fight. A fan of AJ will pick AJ, a fan of Fury will pick Fury. Other than that, it is a genuine 50-50 fight, straight down the middle. We don't know what is going to happen because this is the heavyweight division. Anything can happen. How often have we seen it in boxing in general, where we expect one thing to happen, and commentators and those ringside are marvelling at how this fighter is overcoming the odds to do something completely different against what they thought was going to happen in this fight. That is boxing for you, and I'm not just saying that's from Anthony Joshua's side, I'm saying from Tyson Fury's side as well. Either fighter has the ability to do something incredible in this undisputed fight. That is why we want to watch it so bad. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also leave a like and grab that subscribe button. Thanks guys.